Hello students, my name is Ankush and I'm working as an assistant professor in the Department of Civil Engineering KIET group of institution. Today we are going to discuss all about the methods of boring, drilling, soil sampling and different types of sampling. When the depth of the exploration is large, borings are used for exploration. A vertical borehole is drilled in the ground to get the information about the soil strata. Samples are taken from the borehole and tested in a laboratory. The borehole may be used for conducting the in situ test and for the location of water table. Extensometer or pressure meter may also be installed in the borehole for measuring a deformation in the substrata. Exploratory boring in the field, depending upon the type of soil and the purpose of boring, the following methods are used for drilling the boreholes. The first one is auger boring, second one is was boring, rotary drilling, percussion drilling, and core boring. Auger boring. Uh, an auger boring is a similar tool, similar one used by carpenter for in boring hole in wood. It consists of a slank with a cross wire handle for turning and having central tapered feed screw. This is as shown in the figure. The auger can be operated manually or mechanically. The handheld augers used in the boring are about 15 to 20 centimeter diameter. These are suitable for advancing. These are suitable for advancing hole up to a depth of 3 to 6 meter in soft soil. The hand auger is attached to the lower end of a pipe of about 18 mm diameter. The pipe is provided with a cross arm at its top. The hole is advanced by turning the cross hole arm manually and at the same time applying thrust in the downward direction. When the auger is filled with the soil, it is taken out. If the hole is already driven, another type of auger known as post borehole auger, as shown in figure. This one, post borehole auger is used for taking samples. Mechanical augers are driven by power. These are used making boreholes in hard strata to a greater depth. However, for depths greater than 12 meter, even mechanical augers becomes inconvenient and other methods of borings are used. The next one is wash boring. In a wash boring, the hole arrangement is shown in figure. Uh, the hole is drilled by first driving a casing about 2 to 3 meter. यहाँ पे casing हम लोग लगा देते हैं. The casing of about this casing is about 2 to 3 meter long, and then inserting it into the drill rod with a chisel shaped chopping bit. This is a chisel shaped chopping bit. At its lower end, water is pumped down the hollow drill rod, which is known as wash pipe. Water emerges on a strong jet through a small opening of the chopping bit. The hole is advanced by combination of chopping action and the jetting action. As the drilling bit and the accompanying water jet disintegrate soil, the water and the chopped soil particle rise upward through the annular space. From this space, from this, यहाँ से क्या होगा, पानी जो निकल आएगा and it is collected in a settling tank. And the soil is settled here only, and the water is summed by a pump. Next one is rotary drilling. In rotary drilling method, the borehole is advanced by rotating a hollow drill rod which has a cutting bit at its lower end. The drill rod is provided at the top of the drill rod. It consists of a rotary mechanism and arrangement for applying downward pressure. यहाँ पे क्या है, at here the chopping bit is sorry, not chopping bit, cutting bit is installed here, and the applying thrust from upward, and this bit is rotating and cuts, and rotary drilling is used for uh, holes in soft rocks. As the drilling rod is rotated, the cutting bit shear of chips of the material penetrated. A drilling fluid under pressure is introduced through the drilling rod to the bottom of the hole. The fluid carries the cutting. Carries the cutting of the material penetrated from the bottom of the hole to the ground surface through the annular space between the drilling rod and the wall of the hole. The drilling fluid also cools the drilling bit. In case of an uncased hole, the drilling fluid also supports the wall of the hole. When the soil sample is required to take in, the drilling rod is raised and the drilling bit is replaced by a sampler. Rotary drilling can be used in clay, sand and rocks. Boreholes of diameter 50 mm to 200 mm can be easily made by this method. This method is not well adapted for use in material containing large percentage of particles of gravel size and larger. Percussion drilling. The percussion drilling method is used for making hole in rock, boulders and other hard strata. In this method, a heavy chisel, the heavy chisel is alternatively lift and dropped. As shown in the figure, that it is the heavy chisel is attached to a pulley, and there are 2 or 3 men pull that apply pull from here. Then the chisel is lifted and then dropped. uh, the material gets pulverized if the point where the chisel is strikes is above the water table. Water is added to the hole. The water forms a slurry with the pulverized material, which is removed by a sand pump or a baler at different intervals. Percussion drilling may require a casing. Percussion drilling is also for drilling of tube wells. Percussion drilling is also done for tube wells. The main advantage of percussion drilling method is that it can be used for all type of materials, and it can be used for all type of soils. Core boring. Three basic category of bit are in use. They are diamond, carbide, insert, and sawtooth. Uh, the core drilling method is used for drilling holes and for obtaining rock cores. This is done for drilling in core boring is generally used for drilling in rocks. Diamond coring bits may be of the surface set of diamonds or diamond impregnated type. Carbide insert bits use tungsten carbide in lieu of diamonds. Bits of this type are used to core soft to medium hard rock. They are less expensive than diamond bit, but the rate of drilling is slower than with diamond bit. In sawtooth bits, the cutting edge comprises a series of teeth. The face teeth are faced and tipped with a hard metal alloy such as tungsten, the carbide to provide wear resistance and thereby increase the life of the bit. These bits are less expensive but normally used to overburden soil and very soft rocks only. Next is the sampling in soil. Two type of samples can be obtained during subsurface exploration: disturbed and undisturbed. Disturbed but representative. The samples can generally be used for the following type of laboratory test: grain size analysis, determination of liquid and plastic limit, is passive gravity of the soil, determination of organic content, classification of the soil. Disturbed soil samples, however, can not be used for consolidation, hydraulic conductivity, or shear strength test. Undisturbed soil sample must be obtained for these type of laboratory tests. Different types of samplers. The first one is split spoon sample. The most commonly used sampler for obtaining a disturbed sample of the soil is standard split spoon sampler. And here in figure, it is shown. It consists of mainly three parts: driving shoe, the sorry, the driving shoe made of tool steel about 75 mm long. 75 mm long. The second part is steel tube, about 400 mm long. Steel tube about 400 mm long. Here it is of 450 mm. Longitudinally in two halves, and it is divided into two halves. And third part is coupling. The coupling. The third part is coupling. At the top of the tube, about 150 mm long. About 150 mm long. The inside diameter of the split tube is 38 mm, and the outside diameter is 50 mm. The coupling head may be provided with a check valve, and four venting ports of the 10 mm dia to improve sample recovery. The sampler is also used in conducting standard penetration test. The sample is collected by jacking or putting the sample into the soil by repeating blow of a drop hammer. The sample is then withdrawn. The split tube is separated after removing the shoe, and the coupling and the sample is taken out. It is taken out. It is then placed in a container, scale, and transported to the laboratory. If the soil encountered in the borehole is fine sand and it lie below the water table, the sample recovery becomes typical. For such soils, a spring core catcher device is used to aid recovery. This is the spring core catcher. Otherwise, if we collect a sample, the sample collapses. Then to for holding the sample, the spring core catcher is attached. Next is scraper bucket. If a sandy deposit contains some pebbles, it is possible. It is not possible to obtain sample by a standard split spoon sampler or split spoon sampler fitted with spring core catcher. जब core catcher में जब इस तरीके से आता है, then there are some pebbles. The pebbles are come in between the spring core catcher, and the spring core catcher remains open like this, and the soil leaves from this spaces. From the opening, the soil leaves out. To encounter this problem, we use the scraper bucket sampler. The pebbles come in between the springs and prevent their closure. जैसा कि मैंने बताया, for such deposit, a scraper bucket sample can be used. A scraper bucket sampler consists of a driving point which is attached to its bottom end. There is a vertical slit in the upper portion of the sampler. As the sampler is rotated, the scraping of the soil enter the sampler through the slit. When the sample is filled with the scrapings, it is lifted. Although the sample is quite disturbed, but it is still representative. Next is Selby tube and thin wall sampler. These this sampler are used to take the undisturbed soil sample. Selby tubes are thin wall tube sampler made of seamless steel, and it is used for clay. The outside diameter of the tube may be uh, between 40 to 125 mm. The commonly used sample have the outside dimension of either 50.8 or 76.2 mm. The bottom of the tube is sharpened and beveled, which act as a cutting edge. The area ratio is less than 15%, and the inside clearance is about 0.5 to 3%. Next is piston sampler. A piston sampler, it is also the piston sampler is also used to take the undisturbed soil samples. And a piston sampler consists of a thin wall tube with a piston inside. The piston keeps the lower end of the sampling tube closed when the sampler is lowered to the bottom of the hole. After the sample has been lowered to the desired depth, the piston is prevented from moving downward by a suitable arrangement, which differ in different types of piston sampler. The the thin tube sampler is pushed past the piston to obtain the sample. In the second figure, here only, the piston remain close in contact with the top of the soil. The presence of the piston prevents rapid squeezing of the soft soil into the tube and reduces the disturbance of the sample. And the vacuum, a vacuum is created on the top of the sample, which helps in retaining the sample. During the withdrawal of the sampler, the piston provide protection against the water pressure, which otherwise would have occurred on the top of the sample. Another sampler is the Dennison sampler. The Dennison sampler is a double wall sampler. The outer barrel rotates and core in the soil. The sample is obtained in the inner barrel. The inner barrel is provided with a liner. It may also be provided with a basket type uh, retainer. The sample is lowered to the bottom of the drill hole. A downward force is applied on the top of the sampler from here only. A fluid under pressure is introduced through the inner barrel to cool the drilling bit when the outer barrel rotates. The fluid returns through the annular space uh, between the two barrels. The rotation of the outer barrel is continued till the required length of the sample is obtained. The Dennison sampler is mainly used for obtaining samples to stiff to hard cohesive soil and slightly cohesive sands. Next is hand carved samples. Hand carved sample can be obtained if the soil is exposed, uh, as in a test pit, shaft, or tunnel. Hand carved samples are also known as chunk samples. Thank you.